Let's go. How's everyone doing today? So I've been real busy with the family. I hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone's doing good. I mean, there was obviously we knew Q1 was gonna suck. So I mean, I pretty much told everyone how this was gonna happen in this quarter. But I mean, everything else that he said in that was amazing. You look at the numbers right now in Q2, Q3, Q4. It's gonna be just like I said, guys. It's gonna be profits, profits, profits. So a lot of people are focusing right now just on this number, but there's a lot of other things to look into right now that are actually insanely good news. Adam Aaron said he expects to be cash flow positive for the next 9 straight months. So that's amazing news. That's exactly what I figured we would end up being. Like I said, guys, profits, profits, profits the rest of the year. Q1 was just going to be garbage. It was just trash. There was not much in that lineup. So pretty much did exactly what we expected. But we'll break down this in a second here. Hope everyone's having a good week. I mean, this market's going to be crazy, guys. There's a lot of money to be made here. So we were looking over at Bitcoin last night in the Discord. I was telling everybody to get hut calls. Hut calls still are going to be good. I expect a little bit of a pullback here, but what's gonna happen? You're gonna have over these next couple weeks with these, you're gonna have a couple more trade deals, but what you're gonna have is people negotiating, pull back, up, down, up, down. So again, expect volatility over these next couple weeks. And like I said, guys, just play those waves. That's the best way to do it right now. So got 100 people in here. That's good. Let's go. Let's go ahead and start here. So let's go ahead and look into the numbers here on Q1. We knew they were going to be completely trash. So like I said, I'm not going to focus too much on Q1. It was garbage. We knew it from the beginning. Exactly what I told you guys to expect here. But the one thing I will show you guys is we got 378.7 million cash on hand. Obviously, that's a low number. So I do expect Adam Aaron to ask for shares here. So it's not that big of a deal at this point because what we're going to do is, here's the thing that everyone's going to think is going to happen. He's going to ask for shares. Everyone's going to think he's going to just start bombing shares down. He doesn't need to, because now the difference is we're going to be profitable in his eyes for the next 9 months. So if you ask for shares, you wait for your stock to recover, because 2026 is going to be even bigger. 2027 is supposed to be even bigger. Now here's the thing. I told you guys from this point on, all of these movie industries, it's not just about AMC at this point. It's about the entire movie industry needs to come back in full. So all these movie studios, all these production companies, everybody, they all have stocks. They all have shareholders. They've all been taking massive losses. They all went out and did that strike. They had to justify that strike. They had to justify that strike to all their shareholders. Hey, we're throwing hundreds of millions, we're throwing billions of dollars out the window just because we don't want to pay our workers just a little bit more. Well, their shareholders aren't going to be happy. As you saw, their stock prices dropped. Now, they need to recover that, so they're going to keep needing to produce a ton of videos. They're going to need to step up the lineup, as you're going to see. Like I said, in 2026 is going to be ridiculous. But for the rest of this year, you're going to see, like he said, he expects to be cash flow positive the rest of the next 9 months, and then going 2026 to be even better. So that's all amazing news. One of the other things that he's been doing, and I know a lot of people didn't want to see this, but here's the thing. A lot of AMC's problem when we got into this, it was burning a ton of cash. It was burning a ton of money. I pointed this out forever. I mean, we went into that forever. We got to fix this balance sheet. People didn't want to hear it. It was insanely vital to get that done. But one of the things we needed to do was also upgrade a lot of these theaters. AMC's problem was it was too massive. You can have the most theaters, but that's not a good thing. If you have a whole bunch of theaters in a bad location, that's just a whole bunch of wasted money. A lot of these theaters also are on the brink of profitability, but like I said, every time I go into the Apple Valley one, Apple Valley was in the best spot you could have ever seen. The theater was great, it even had a little arcade in there. It was a great theater. The only problem was it had those baseball stadium seats. And I don't care how much you love, I mean, a theater company. All of these people in Apple Valley were not apes like us. They're not just going to go see it. They're not diehards. But what they did have was a theater right down the road that had recliner seats. They matter. When you can go watch that same movie in comfort, it's a big deal. They ended up closing that Apple Valley Theater down, but all it needed, literally, all it needed was chairs. It just needed the chairs, and you could have put the other one out because you were bigger. Like I said, you had the arcade, you had this, you had a whole bunch of other stuff that that thing didn't have. So again, that was a loss in my eyes. It just needed a little bit, but at the time, like I said, he wasn't going full into upgrades. He was trying to pay down debt and do other things and expand in certain areas and buy profitable theaters. I mean, that's exactly what he needed to start to do. But at this point, like I said, we should start seeing profits. This is where we need it to get. You can see the lineup throughout the rest of the year is just unbelievably better. Q2 should be amazing. Oh, give me 1 second here. Sorry, I got up in Minnesota, dude. The allergy season's really, really, really bad. All the snow is melting, all the trees are coming out, pollen's everywhere. Give me 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. Finally breathing in. Alright, so again, the rest of this year, you guys can see the lineup is insanely better. So, one of the things he also did is we are going to start upgrading a lot of theaters. This is a big deal. Upgrading these screens is a massive deal. I know people don't believe that, but when you go ahead and look at things like this, every 70 millimeter IMAX screening of Sinners has sold out, crashing AMC's website. Those nicer screens, the better screens, the lasers, the sound. Like he said, with these auditoriums, they're going to have lights in the seats, sound in the seats, vibration in the chairs. You're going to have a whole different experience than you've ever had before. So these things are going to separate you from other theaters, which is a big deal. Now, another thing that I saw today, or yesterday, there's a Lilo and Stitch Twitter account, and all it does is put out Lilo and Stitch movie news. And one of the things it posted was AMC actually has a one-day event for Lilo and Stitch, one day earlier than the official release. So AMC is going to be able to get a lot more business coming in from Lilo and Stitch, and that's going to be a massive movie. So if they can go ahead and get one-day early release events for the rest of the year on these big movies, that's a massive deal. That's a lot more business coming into our doors out of that domestic numbers than going other places. Everybody's going to want to see it one day earlier. So this could be a sweet thing to do. Hopefully a lot more hopefully a lot more movies do this with us throughout the year. But I mean, like I said, just Lilo and Stitch one day earlier. This could be bring a lot more revenue to AMC. So this is another great idea going forward. But like I said, you nothing but updates. Adam also said in that thing that we're going to basically have about 45%, or I can't remember the percent. I just wrote it down. I think it was 40% now are going to have that laser projection by the end of the year. So that's a nice upgrade as well. He announced all those partnerships that we went over earlier with all those other screening companies. So, like I said, AMC. I know a lot of people all the shows are going to come out and just talk about this number right here, and oh my God. But again, if AMC expects to be profitable, again, I expect them to ask for shares. He's not going to ask for an insane amount. Even if he asks for 100 million, 150 million, it's not the end of the world. He's not going to. I don't think he'd expose those until at least you're back in the $5, $6, $7 range, and you can definitely get there by the end of towards the end of this year. Especially like I said, if the box office just does nothing but recover and recover and recover. AMC's always beaten Wall Street's expectations. Again, you can only hold this down for so long. When the box office fully recovers in 2026, they will be insanely profitable. AMC will have all these new theaters, all these new upgrades in. I expect 2026 to be insanely profitable for AMC unless by some miracle, a COVID thing happens again, or something shuts down the economy. But just to show you where we're at compared to last quarter, compared to this quarter, and like I said, the lineup the rest of this quarter is insanely better. I don't know what Lilo and Stitch is going to do here, but I think it's going to be insanely huge numbers. But this time compared to last year, or last quarter, sorry, you're only at 500 million. We're already almost at 1.1 billion. So you're almost double where you were at Q1 at this point. So again, I expect nothing but good things going forward here for AMC throughout the year and into 2026, 2027. They just announced the Lord of the Rings release date. Just put it up. Give me 1 second. Just put it up. Lord of the Rings comes out here in December 17th, 2027. Alrighty, so let's get into some other stuff here. I mean, it's kind of going to get interesting out there. It's looking like, I mean, I can't tell if Donald's doing some good things, but he's doing a lot of, a lot of shady stuff too at the same time. So I don't just think oh my god, but I mean, you're seeing some things in the background, and one thing I do love to see, which we will get into, he's still calling out Ken Griffin. Don't think Ken Griffin has left Donald Trump's eye. He's still talking about Ken Griffin. But one of the things I saw interesting the other day, the CFTC says a handful of staff are put on leave for this probe and investigation. And it's part of Donald Trump's executive order on lawful governance and accountability. But one of the things that they were talking about on all these people is basically, if you read what they're doing, one guy was working out of the country type thing. That's not as big of a deal as what I'm looking into as the other guys, but it's like political involvement, unethical things. Pretty much sounds like they're taking bribes, political bribes, all sorts of good stuff here. So, pretty much, as we always said, these regulators are getting paid off. I mean, I honestly don't know why this probe is fully looking into it, but there's a handful of employees that are doing, breach of laws, ethics standards. But when you more read into it, they're pretty much taking bribes. They're taking bribes. They're letting people pass. They're lying under oath. That was another thing that they said that they were doing. They were lying under oath. So when these guys are going to court or they're going into these, this is how I feel like all these guys get away with these, acceptance, waiver, and consent. All of these people, like I said, we said forever, these guys are all freaking in on it together. They're all in on it together. They're all pieces of fucking trash. And then the regulators, like I said, this is so fucking annoying. When you look at what is going on, God, man, we gotta just wake people up. Like, we gotta wake everybody up. Like, the way we win, like, at this point, go see a movie. Just keep seeing movies. Keep seeing movies. Because AMC is not going to go anywhere at this point. Movies aren't going to go anywhere. They're actually going to... It's going to be nothing but positive for the rest of the year. Positive news the rest of next year. Positive news the rest of the year after that. Everybody that's worried about recessions, guess what? Movies still do great during recessions. They have throughout all of history. It's one of the areas where it actually does do great throughout history. But... I mean, we need people to understand what's happening, because I'm going to show you what's going on here in the back end and how they just destroy everybody. And unless we get everybody to start watching this, dude, like, these motherfuckers got to be held accountable at some point. At some point, like, dude, they're literally printing the world. We'll get into this in a second. I'm just going to skip all that for a second. But let's get into Donald Trump. Donald's Cohen. So if Trump is actually doing some good things here in Wall Street, he said he's going to have some major announcement here in the next couple of days. I don't know if that was going to be his trade announcement, if it's something else here, but if he is actually going after some of these people in government, he actually is going after the CFTC. He actually is calling out Ken Griffin. If he does actually do something with Ken Griffin, I mean, be very interesting going forward, but I hope he does, but I mean, I just can't trust red or blue at this point. This dude's said a lot of stuff and done a lot of the opposite. So, but one thing I do want to show you guys that is actually insanely funny, speaking to Ken Griffin, Citadel, after they have had loss after loss after loss. So why AMC now is going to be profitable, Ken Griffin has taken losses the last 2 quarters. As you guys also saw, Ken Griffin had to take a loan to pay out dividends right before he took a loss after a loss. So again, AMC will be back to profitability, and Kenny Boy's taken 2 losses. Well, part of the problem with little Kenny Boy here is he has pod shops, okay? He has pod shops, and he doesn't have complete control of the pod shops. It's his best guys, but his pod shops keep getting blown up. And if you guys don't know what a pot shop is, it's just a hedge fund inside of a hedge fund. So banks, it's illegal for banks to take profits and deposit them in hedge funds because obviously it's conflict of interest. They can manipulate it, make sure they're profits, and that hedge fund always make profits. They're market makers. So what they ended up doing was making that illegal. So what they did was make a loophole because that's all rich people do. So they made a pot shop. So you can't invest in my company, but you can invest in the pot shop in my company, which is a different thing, different entity, but it's made up of all my best traders, and they're going to be in a private room. It's their own LLC, and we'll call it a pod shop. And basically, it's like having access to my best people without actually being an employee of mine or breaking the code of interest. You know, classic loophole bullshit. Sorry. So then, Ken Griffin's pot shop has been losing and blowing up, which means guess what? He's losing banks' money. He's not losing investor money, he's losing bank money. And bank money is when you start getting in trouble. Well, one of the reasons that Kenny Boy has been losing is we have these things that I showed you before. They're called private rooms. Private rooms are dark rooms inside of a dark room. Now, these private rooms don't have to report anything. They don't have to report anything. No one knows what they're doing. It's the biggest fucking scam. It's the biggest joke in the entire world. They're unregulated. It's literally these guys doing what they want in these fucking dark pools. And people wonder, how do these guys control price? Well, they have dark pools inside of dark pools, internalization, ATS, they have derivatives, they have ISDA, they have market maker to market maker contracts, they have the CNS program. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. They have market maker rule exemption 203B. I mean, like I said, I just keep going. Options manipulation. Yeah, nonstop. Oh, the FTD manipulation. You know, all the good stuff. So, one thing I've told you guys forever, one thing they cannot manipulate is profit. So go see movies, go spend money up at your company, support your company, whether you want. Like I said, people sit there and, well, I don't like the CEO. Well, guess what? Do you like money? Because do you want your money back? Then you should go support your company. Crazy. If they start getting profitable, your money starts to come back. And then you start to see a squeeze when everything turns around. But now that the tables are start slowly turning on Kenny Boy, so after Citadel, you know, like I said, that's just a couple months ago here, but each quarter after their pod shops here, as we went over, keep making them lose money, keep exposing them, keep taking hits. Kenny has to write to regulators now. He's bitching. He's done with this. Ken Griffin does not have access to go see what's going on inside of these inside of these private rooms, and he's pissed. Doesn't like it. It's not fair. He literally says these words. It is not fair. Ken Griffin is bitching about fairness. I want to say that one more time. Ken Griffin is bitching about fairness in these private rooms and how he cannot see what's happening. It's not fair. He's pissed. Yeah, Sinners outperformed. I mean, let's be honest. Minecraft outperformed. Who the hell thought Minecraft's gonna break all right, right. Minecraft's gonna break $400 million domestically. Who on earth thought Minecraft was gonna break 400 million domestically? I didn't. I mean, I was like, man, if we get 150 domestic, that's sweet. 400 million. Sinners is killing it, like you said. This quarter is going to be a lot better than I thought. It's going to be a lot better than I thought, and right out of Adam Aaron's mouth. We should be cash flow positive the rest of the year. That's all I needed to hear. Perfect. That makes this number not as scary, because if you're not going to have, guys, listen, if you're not going to have cash burn the rest of the year, if you're going to be cash flow positive, you're going to be, see profits like he said the rest of the year, then this number is not as scary as it looks. It's scary as shit when you have these horrible quarters like we've had in the past with no movies. without these upgrades, without all this stuff that, like I said, this is all matters. Now, again, is he gonna ask for shares? Duh. Any if oh he's doing it to help out institutions. Any rational fucking CEO that has a brain of any kind that isn't well, if they're I can't say they have should have any CEO in the world at this point would look at this. Anyone that knows anything about business or finance would look at this balance sheet and look at this and say, all right, I need to try and ask for more shares to reserve this, pay down more debt even, and even do more upgrades faster if we can. Now, one of the things he did talk about, and I know he's going to ask for shares because he pretty much said it in the earnings report, was when he was talking about the upgrades and how he was talking about how disciplined they were with the the spending, the capex, on spending on their capex. He said going forward, we're going to still be resilient on that and try and hold back, but do what we can. But at the same time, if we can raise capital or have the ability to raise capital, that's going to also change that effort. So I know like I said, anyone that wants to say, well, he's a shill, he's doing it to do that. No, he's doing that because it's the responsible thing. And now listen to this, too, because this is also important. This is what they won't tell you. AMC, if you say no when he asks for that, the stock price will drop because that limits their ability to raise capital. That limits their ability to pay down debt. That limits their ability to bail itself out. That limits its ability to avoid Chapter 11, which when it hits Chapter 11, that's game over for you. That's game over for us. That's game over for everybody that has been involved in this whole thing. It's about not getting Chapter 11. Again, if you're in profitability, this is the difference between everybody. Well, Adam Aaron's also just doing this. He just shells. He's gonna get it and just sell everything at $1.75 because he always sells low in the past. Well, in the past, you haven't had the projections of AMC, as he said, in the next 9 months of profitability. You've never had that. So he can sit there and wait. That's the difference. He can afford to finally wait. 2026. Guess what? It's going to be even more profitable. He can wait for an opportunity, and when you look at the rest of the movie, all these other movie companies in this industry, guess what? They're in the $25, $35 range. We have about $600 billion more in debt than most of these companies. They have a little better terms, and again, they don't have as many theaters, so they don't have as big of expenses as AMC does, but they also don't get as many profits. But again, that's what AMC needs to do, is start to focus on getting rid of these theaters that aren't profitable, upgrade the ones that they can, and make them become profitable. And like I said, you guys will be feeling great going forward. Adam Aaron can only dilute when it's reasonable and a good opportunity. Maybe you get a squeeze, he jumps up and jumps on it with you. That's not a moment where you go, oh my God. That's a moment for him to go, all right, as a company. Like I said, CEOs just plan accordingly. CEOs always do what's best for them and the company, and that's what they will do. That is their job, is to do whatever is the best for the health of that company. But again, so if Donald's going after these guys, and back to this. So Citadel's over here. And they're bitching about all of these private rooms and how they have no regulations. And now he's sitting there and he goes, you know what? You guys, we have 24-hour trading going on now. So you could have these private rooms trading 24 hours, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, I thought these... And here's what's funny that Ken Griffin exposed. And I don't think Ken Griffin meant to expose this. Well, first of all, these guys shouldn't be able to do any of this shit on the 24-hour thing. Last I checked, these brokers and these other people needed to register to do all that. Are you guys registered to do all that, or are you guys just doing it? So you're basically telling us people are trading overnight in these dark rooms and ATSs and all this shit when they shouldn't be. Thank you for telling the world, big old Kenny boy, dumbass. So now he's sitting here bitching about how, well, we do 570 billion a day, so you need to listen to what he says, whining how important Kenny boy is. He thinks he's this really important guy. So then he wants to see more access and more transparency for these private rooms. He needs to know what's going on. He's got to know too. Like I said, this shit's fucking hilarious, dude. All I ever see is anytime these guys have what happens to them, they bitch, they come to these guys and they say, we need to do more regulations because these private rooms are fucking up my pod shop and they're making me lose money. I don't know what they're doing. They seem to see what I'm doing, and then they're playing the opposite, and they're fucking me up, and I don't like it. I need this to end. We can't keep taking losses. And it's the banks. And this is what's funny. The banks are giving it to him. He's losing it back to them. It's just like, it's just this endless fucking circle, dude. It's just this endless circle, dude. And now he's just, like I said, it's just ridiculous. At some point, like I said, there will be a crash. There will be some type of thing. I mean, here's the problem. Donald Trump, he has a debt ceiling. They can only do so much. I don't know if you guys saw his budget thing today. So they're sitting there talking about how they have all of these. Oh my God, we're saving all these billions over here. We're saving hundreds of billions over here. And then guess what Donald Trump did? He went out and he put his new budget cutout, or his new budget pre-draft, and says, I need as much as Joe Biden spent, but I need an extra $164 billion. So everything that they said that they saved, he already wants to spend more than that. This is the problem with government. They sit there and they show you all the shit that, oh man, we saved this. But then what they don't tell you is what they ended up doing is canceling a contract that was paid for 3 years ago, and now the work's just not being done. So now they need to hire a new company, but what they're going to do is they're going to hire one of their buddies. So all these people, all these people are celebrating, oh man, we're closing on all these contracts. If you looked at most of them, they were already paid out 3 years ago. The whole thing was paid out. Their lump sum paid out. Remaining balance zero, but there was still work to be done, and people were still doing it because they were already paid for it. Then they would close the contract down and be like, oh my God, I closed this massive contract down. Well, good job. And then guess what you did? You also opened a new one that you didn't talk about, and you gave it to one of your buddies. And guess what? That work you already fucking closed down was paid for. And now we have to pay even more for your buddy's contract. So, this is my point. It's like, we sit at this point, dude, and you look over and now you look at the Credit Suisse shit. Credit Suisse to pay $511 million for helping U.S. taxpayers hide $4 billion overseas, which would have resulted in over $109 million in tax revenue. Oh, this guy's trying to cry about market caps. Oh, this clown. Dude, watch throughout the next year and a half who starts raking in more profits. We'll talk then. I'll talk to you at the end of Q2. Have a good one. Fucking clowns. I love when clowns join in. I'm best friends with Amy. Ethan is a hero. I'm in Project Dumbass Popcorn. Great. Tell the world your IQ is 4. Now back to this. So, like we've been saying, you guys, all of these fucking pieces of shit, and guess what happens? All these people that broke the law, all of these wealthy clients, they've moved $4 billion. They're all U.S. citizens. This is tax evasion. We would all be going to prison. Like, could you imagine if 2 years you misdid your fucking taxes? Or 2 or 3 years you misdid your taxes? They're coming at you hard as fuck, dude. If you look at this, look at this. U.S. people evaded taxes from 2010 to 2021. They did tax evasion. They did tax evasion for 11 years. Are they going to go after any individuals? No. They're not going to go after them. They're rich. Instead, they're going to find a bank This is the problem. When these rich people break laws, they don't go to prison. They don't do anything. It doesn't fucking matter. They're gonna what? Maybe they're gonna get a letter from the IRS. Hey, you owe this money, and then we're gonna fine you for the years. So they're gonna basically pay a giant lump sum and a fine. Are they gonna go to jail? No. Is anything gonna happen to them? No. Like I said, this shit's a fucking joke, dude. Or this fine will cover all the loss, and they're not even gonna go after these people. Look at this. They had $4 billion hidden in 475 offshore accounts. 475 rich people got to save a little extra money, and then we got to pay for it. So this is why, like I said, I wish more people would have seen a lot more in my videos early on. I wish a lot more people would have understand what is happening in the United States, because it is nothing but a fucking scam. It is rich people being able to get companies charged for crimes that they commit. No one goes to jail. The companies pay a fine. Like I said, I don't even know if they're gonna go after the individuals. Doesn't even sound like it. Probably not. Just like they never do. And this is the problem. But they'll come after you for fucking missed $500 payment. Now, I also want you guys to understand something, because anyone here who is in middle class, lower class, upper high class, I want you to understand the cycle, the working cycle, the debt cycle, how they destroy your money before every time you get a paycheck, you see that check, but it's already pretty much destroyed. To give you an example on what I am talking about, you need listen to this, because this is important. This is 20-year difference. This is in 20 years. You need $1.6 million in 2025 to have the same spending power you did with $1 million in 2005. I mean, that's almost fucking lost half the value. Fiat currency, if you work, okay, I need you to understand this. If you work, you just take your money and you put it in a bank. The government, listen, because look at this. So if you work, you put that money in the bank. That bank gives you what? 0.02%. Okay? Inflation is already made. You've already lost money sitting in the bank. As an example, right here, that fiat currency. Look at that fiat currency's value. If this was a chart right now, you would see a drop. Hold on. All right. So here's your fiat value. Okay. Here's your fiat value chart. Let's say. Okay. Started out here. So it's already like trash. So you got your little chart here. It's already garbage. It's already like this. Okay. It's already just down, 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 down. So now in the next 20 years, it's like, dude, it's already lost half its fucking value. This thing would just be like a straight down chart like this. And guess what? This chart's percentage that it's dropping is going down way faster than you earning your 0.002%. No rich people have money in any of their in their banks. They don't have money in their banks. All their money's in assets. It's in companies. It's in stock. The way you get out of being middle class, out of this, you own stock. Here's the thing. Most people don't own stock. Like I already showed you the percentage. Most average people don't own stock, don't think about it, don't care about it. They have their money sitting in a bank, losing value to inflation, printing, non-stop bullshit, the debt, paying interest, all of the just waste of money. That is what fiat currency is. It's a thing that's gonna never stop going down. People ask me about gold, crypto,
Do you think gold's slowing? No, gold will not slow down. Gold is never going to slow down. Gold is not going to slow down. Gold will continue to go up. Cryptos will, they're going to come back with a vengeance because every single time these guys can make up an excuse to print money, they do. And I want to show you this. The world chart right now. This is a Bloomberg terminal. All these world governments are printing it. There's more. The M2 supply is higher than ever. Higher than ever. It's at an all-time high. They just don't stop the printing, the lending, the debt, the issuance of debt. It just doesn't stop. It's not gonna stop because it's at this point where it's in such a. The second it stops, the amount that is owed is so catastrophic across the board. It would be such a financial collapse. I mean, dude, you're talking trillions and trillions and trillions stolen that cannot come back. I mean, this is to the point where fiat currency is going to need to continue to print, issue debt. That is exactly why Trump continuously said we need to raise the debt ceiling. What, another $5 trillion? Holy fuck. Like, that's the thing. It's not like these guys just ask for, like, hey, let's just raise it like a couple $100 billion just so we can do this and then we'll start to pay stuff down. He wants $5 trillion more. And we're going to give it to him. They're going to give it to him. They're going to give it to him. They're going to make a big fucking showing. This is how insane this is. They make a big showing throughout the media, to the United States, to all these citizens. Oh my God, if we don't get this debt ceiling raised, the whole government's going to shut down. The world's going to fucking collapse. It's all over. And the people are sitting there just praying. They get to where people, your average citizens, praying. They say, yes, let's raise the debt ceiling. Let's save the government. Let's save all the government jobs. We can't shut it down. We need it. And these guys cheer on the fact that these guys come to an agreement to issue $5 more trillion in debt. They do it every time. Oh, and then whatever side won that fucking presidency debate and vote, guess what? They're gonna back the issuance of the debt through till they die because their guy says they needed it, and they will say no matter what, my guy still didn't spend as much as yours. But he still didn't fix the problem either. He still spent when we cannot fucking spend. He still didn't try to stop any or slow down any of the crime, slow down any of this shit. All the reason the United States is in where it is because of banks. And because the Federal Reserve is a privately owned company. The Federal Reserve needs to be destroyed. Disbanded. It needs to become a fucking government entity. It has to. If it doesn't, it will always do what's in the best interest of its shareholder, not me and you, its shareholders, which are the banks. And it will always make repo programs. It will always bail them out. It will always print to buy more money, to buy more. Oh, your house. Look at. I already showed you guys here. The number one owners in all of mortgage-backed securities is our Federal Reserve. They bought $2.7 trillion from banks that were going to default. Think about that. They went around during all these financial crises, and the Federal Reserve bought out $2.7 trillion in shitty mortgage-backed securities. Half of these mortgages aren't even there anymore. Half the houses that were on these mortgages, were made of, sorry, aren't even there anymore. They're fucking ghost mortgages. Like I said, this fucking shit is ridiculous, dude. That is what's happening. You have a private entity in control of your money. You have a private entity that will print. So while your money's sitting in your bank account gaining no interest, the Fed's already printed more than, it's already lost money. It's losing value. So what you need to do, that's why I keep showing people. Gold was, for the last 5 years, I'm like, guys, get your money out of the banks, put it in a, if you have to have it in a bank because you're too worried about it, go at a credit union because at least you'll get about 3.5%. But gold was where you wanted to go. And gold has doubled in value. It was at 16 and a half to 1700 when we talked about it. It just hit 3400 and like 50 the other day. See, that's the difference between gold's value and fiat currency value. Asset value, asset values, assets rise faster than currency. I'm sorry, than inflation. Assets rise faster than inflation. Bank accounts do not. So your average person will not buy these assets. They won't buy the gold. They won't buy stock. They're not going to buy house. They're not going to buy these assets. They're not going to go and get land. I mean, land was the other thing we talked about 5 years ago. And look at how much land has risen in 5 years. Silver. Silver is another thing. Commodities. Commodities are assets, guys. Don't just have, if you have a lot of money, don't just let it sit there. A lot of these got treasuries. Treasuries. Told you guys, money market funds. Treasuries. You're looking at 5%. Anything but sitting in a bank. Because that bank is using your own money to rob you. They're using your own money to steal your retirement. So here's what's happening. Your most average citizen never gets out of where they are. How do they hold you down? Well, they have inflation borrowing. They end up doing these interest rates that are unbelievable. Obviously, they price gouge. These guys steal. And at the end of the day, what's always at risk? Your 401ks and your retirement. So you can end up working your whole life. You can make all this money through your retirements just to lose it by them. And in the meantime, they could come out with fucking anything like COVID, and they can make any excuse to print $8 trillion, print more than 80% of money that was in existence in one fucking year, and then say, I don't know where inflation came from. I have no idea, even though we just printed 80% of money in existence in one fucking year. We don't know why our currency value and why everything skyrocketed times 1,000%. I don't know. We have no clue where it came from. It was COVID's fault. No, it was your reckless spending. And if you guys look, like I said, I don't even want to get into the COVID debate, but there's a lot of evidence to show that, I'm just not even going to go there. I know people that have lost, or people have died from COVID, but I mean, I feel like it was more something else, but I'm not going to get into that debate. But here we go. But anyways, back to this. The U.S. government will never default because we'll always raise the debt ceiling. We'll always print. We'll always come to an agreement. What are you going to give me? That's the thing. When it comes to this agreement every goddamn time. When it comes to this, oh my God, they're debating, are they going to shut it down? Oh, we'll shut it down. It's always, well, you got to give us something. Give us something and then we'll give you what we should do. Or we'll let you spend recklessly if you give us this. It's always just, it's literally like a public negotiation of how they can spend money that we shouldn't spend and how they can profit off each other and where it can go. How much stock do you own over here? Well, we need to put the budget towards this because that's where my stock is. Well, we need to put some more over here because that's where my stocks are. That's what it really is. Like that's what people don't understand. It's all these congressmen publicly saying, "Well, my stocks are over here, so if we don't spend this much over in this area, I'm not fucking doing it." Well, if we don't spend this over here, because I got all my stocks over here, my portfolio is only $200 million as a fucking congressman. I need it to be 380 by the time I retire, even though I'm 75, dying and should have been fucking croaked or retired 17 fucking thousand years ago. We have dinosaurs running this country. You wonder why they don't care about breaking the laws. They're going to die in 5 fucking years. We need age limits. We need term limits. I mean, when these girls, these like that one senator, that one grandma, that's like 195, and they couldn't find her. She just disappeared. Didn't know where she went for like 7 fucking days, and comes back, and then they just stick a pudding cup in her hand, put her in a wheelchair, and wheel her out. And are you kidding me? The girl couldn't even talk. She couldn't even speak in her press conference. She didn't. She looked like she was a vegetable. And you know where the fuck she was. And this is a congresswoman. Really? Like I said, the shit is unbelievable. And then this chick's worth like $600 million. Okay. What's wrong with us doing insider trading and voting for my fucking stock portfolio instead of the citizens that voted me in? Nothing, Congressman. And then the congressman goes, remember that one congressman? Well, if you want people in Congress, I mean, you better not do stock trading or nobody will want to come in here. Pfft, no, honest people will want to come in there. People that want good for the country will want to come in there, not people that just want to do it to get fucking rich and break the law. Well, it's not the law, I guess. Break insider trading rules. Said, this country just disgustes me right now. It just disgustes me right now. We have criminals running the asylum. We have criminals running the asylum. As they said, out of their own words. The criminals are running the asylum, dude. All of our politicians are criminals. All of our regulators are fucking criminals, and then they just go back and forth. Back and forth. Because none of them can go to jail, and the worst that's going to happen to them is people's retirements are going to be lost. Like you said, we gotta, when the next crash does happen, and we all, like I said, it will happen. AMC will be profitable. The meme stocks will jump because they're all going to be doing just fine, and they're going to be one of the few companies doing just fine. And that's where all the shorts are. And you can't hide this shit forever. And Credit Suisse just gets in more and more trouble. More and more trouble. And think about what they hid. Eventually it's going to come out. UBS is already on the brink of collapse because they inherited Credit Suisse's mess that they had to hide for 50 years. It's bigger than they thought. You just saw UBS have to pay a giant fine. They just paid another fine because they were for taxes that weren't paid for Credit Suisse. This bomb over here is still not done. Trust me. This thing's still boiling over here in the pot. There is so much stuff that is still going on in the back end. But my point is, these guys will always print. So if you're just sitting here, guys, and you're not doing anything with your money, if you're just putting it in their account and it's just chilling, trust me, it's just losing value. That's how they keep you where they want you to be. Asset value goes like this, fiat value goes like that, because the government does not care enough about their people to make this ever go back up. They don't care enough. Because once this goes up, everybody eats. And at the end of the day, these guys want them, and then they want us. And they want us to be enslaved by debt. And they want them to be running around playing gods. Pam Bundy just came out talking about the Epstein file the other day. Oh my god. Oh my god, there was just hundreds of videos of Epstein with kids, and it's like, oh, okay. So where are all the other videos of his clients? You're watching hundreds of videos, apparently, of this stuff, of victims. Okay, so you don't know the hundreds of people in those victims? You just said they're pretty much all Jeffrey Epstein? Oh, okay. Like I said, fucking ridiculous, dude. Who was it? Not the J.P. Morgan executives that fucking... And the J.P. Morgan bank that got literally charged. Had to have Joe Biden fly out to the Virgin Islands. Fire the Attorney General. Interest payments. Look at this. Interest payments are $1.124 trillion on that debt. When they issue more, this is going to be like $1.5 trillion. It's like ridiculous, dude. How much? Think about this. I want you to think about this. They make you pay taxes. They already destroy your life because there's 40 trillion. There's about to be 41 trillion in debt. Okay, 41 trillion in debt, which means all the 10 years are up, which means all of your rates are up. Okay, again, anytime the 10 years are up, mortgage rates are up, auto loan rates are up, credit card rates are up. Guess what's going up? All three. Harder to get everything. Now it's harder to get loans. Like I said, and then they take your taxpayer money. They take 1.1 trillion of your taxpayer money, and then they pay that debt off. And guess who owns that debt? I want you guys to. Who owns most of the debt right now? Or who owns a lot of the debt? I can't say most of it, but a large portion. The Federal Reserve. The Treasury issues it. The Feds are buying it. And they're just holding up, and we're paying the Feds all the interest on it. The Feds are going to renew, which is why they're like jacked and why they're also holding up the rates. They're also not trying to fix it because when they renew by the end of the year, they get to go from 2.6 to 4.6. So then we get to pay them even more. So we're issuing debt and we're basically paying ourselves. We're paying the Federal Reserve. At the same time, the Federal Reserve. Now look at this. Look at this. So global money supply soaring record high, all-time high. At the same time, where is it? The Federal Reserve owes, as I've shown you guys in the past, $225 billion to the Treasury. Well, look at this. This is ridiculous. The U.S. Treasury needs to borrow now $514 billion because they're fucking broke. This is surpassing a 320% jump from its forecast. And if you come down here and look, look at this. The U.S. Treasury Department has sharply increased its borrowing estimate for the quarter, projecting $514 billion in net marketable debt from April to June. That marks a stunning 317% jump from 127 billion forecast earlier, made just 2 months ago. So what happened? Well, the Federal Reserve are supposed to pay the Treasury. Well, they haven't been paying the Treasury. They borrowed $225 billion. Well, look at this. This big shift is largely due to the government starting the quarter with far less cash on hand than expected. Bloomberg reports that February that the Treasury expected to have $850 billion. But guess what? Its balance was $406 billion. They're just borrowing from the Treasury and don't give a fuck. Is that they're like bankrupting the country. The Federal Reserve doesn't care because they're more worried about bailing out their banking buddies. They owe them $225 billion. If they need to borrow this, well, guess what? That's just more burden on all of us. That's more debt. That's more taxpayer money that needs to be paid. That's more interest on all of this needing to be paid by us. And then when it comes time to pay taxes, what do these guys do? Look, they funnel their money over here. They funnel $4 billion overseas so they don't have to pay it, but me and you do. That's why I've been trying to get people to look into assets, look into gold, looking at all that for so long, because the fiat money is not value. It's like temporary value. It's like fake value. You don't see what it looks like. You just see the picture in front of you. You don't see you don't see the diminish. It's not like the value. You don't look at the dollar bill and see the value diminish. You only see that diminish the second you go up to a cash register. So it doesn't fully compute. That $20 isn't $20 anymore. Eventually, they're gonna need to print out fucking $500 bills. But guess what? At the same time, my prices and all this shit, and CEOs, their wages go up 2,000, 3,000% every year. Yours doesn't move. Goes up maybe $1. $2 if you've had the hell of a year. But this is one of the things. I mean, here's what Donald says. So, like with these trade agreements, what I think is going to happen with the market. You're going to have these rides. You're going to have these up and downs. What's going to happen is you're going to have a guy, you're going to have people do a negotiation. And, I mean, one of the things I'm looking at right now is, Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to have its up and downs, but it's having higher high, higher lows. One of the stocks I've told the Discord to get into, and I got into as well. Hut. I like Hut a lot when it comes to minor stocks. Bitcoin's like that. If you're looking for other things to look into, we went up 12% today. To put into perspective, Hut runs a lot off Bitcoin's price. The last time, you were at 100,000 or even near it. This was at over $20 stock. So nice thing to look. You got some signs going on here. I've seen a lot. Like I said, you've seen sentiment change. You can see some good movement here as well. But do your thing. But like I said, there's a lot of opportunities to make money in the stock market right now. I'm definitely going to be doing some more here this week in the Discord. I'm gonna finally get back into this. Little man's gonna be watch a little bit better. But like I said, guys, you're gonna have opportunities to jump in and up or in and out. But overall, for the little foreseeable future here, I think you're going to end up seeing a couple more deals done. Like I said, you're gonna definitely have some opportunities to make some money. But I still think it's funny. Here's Donald tonight.
You better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before. That's a very important element of all of this. If we get that. If you don't, and the Democrats are fighting it only because they want to fight. They have Trump derangement syndrome. If it was somebody else, they wouldn't fight. If you had a normal person, you had some stiff sitting behind you, they'd be fine. But they have Trump derangement syndrome. Senator Schumer's become a Palestinian.
But Donald's out there telling people, go buy stocks, and last time he said that, they jumped. But I mean, despite you're in a bullish head and shoulder, it's there. But I mean, look at that Bollinger Band. There's definitely a top right now where you're close, so you could have a pullback. So I mean, there will be opportunities here. Like I said, you look at the SPY, you are in a head and shoulder, but at the same time, you're hitting at the Bollinger Band top. So unless you get a big spike in volume, you might be sitting here for a little bit. Some people are positive. As you guys could see, the histogram was changing. Sentiment is changing to positive. It's getting, it's not there fully yet, but it is getting, a little less shaky, So, I mean, there will be opportunities, but I feel like more right away without uncertainty right now. Like I said, with Bitcoin, you're going to have that volatility, and when it comes to minor stocks, the only one I really like the most is Hut. I feel like Mara, Riot, they like to lag a lot. So, but there are opportunities out there. You guys definitely looking for some out there, but just make sure you guys, like I said, don't just sit back. Right in the meantime, like I said, don't just sit in these fucking banks. Get out of these fucking banks that are paying you nothing. Because, like I said, you're not gonna get anywhere by doing that. You're only going to lose money. Guess what? While you're sitting there with money in your bank and you're working hard, you're like, God, I'm making this an hour. That money you put in the bank actually lost money. So you're making less an hour than you did before, than you're thinking. So like I said, you're always working for less than you think if your money's only sitting in a bank. Like I said, it's always diminishing. It's always losing value. You are working for less than you think. On top of that, like all other government, world debt is skyrocketing. Broke 300 trillion. It's actually on a very high rapid pace. Everybody is printing. Other world countries are printing like they've never fucking printed before. People are selling treasuries. Public is buying them, which means corporations are buying them, which means more corporations are owning more U.S. treasuries. But virtually all Fed QT since March of 2022 has now been offset by credit expansion, and the money supply is right back where it was at its peak. So all that QT that they did was worth for nothing. It's all right back. Everything's right back where they were, and they're going to have to do QT again. Is that at some point, I mean,
there's got to be a crack in the well. There is way too many leaks coming out. I don't understand how this thing is still standing. It's standing because everything's just fake. Everything is just fake at this point. Everybody's stealing. You have people that are literally admitting to faking financial reports like SCMI. They're literally saying our shit's corrupt. We can't even do it. You had auditors quitting, saying these guys aren't even keeping track of their books. Ponzi scheme after Ponzi scheme. At some point, it's going to collapse, or people are going to lose everything before it does collapse, and we need to make sure that everybody knows why they lost it. Hardship withdrawals. Hardship withdrawals from 401k are up 15 to 20% from historic norms. People are pulling out of their 401ks, and like I always said, the only thing that's being affected by most of retail is their 401ks are evaporating, and they're paying giant fees to pull out stuff just to pay house payments. Meanwhile, the price of Bitcoin, like I said last time, price of Bitcoin was like this. Hut had very, very good numbers. Like you said, you were in the 20 range. I see a bullish. I see some bullish patterns here. It says indicators are looking great. Like I said, looking forward right now, it looks good as long as this can hold up. And even if this doesn't hold up, in the 100,000s, right around the 95,000. So like I said, I'm liking Hut. But anything else? I don't really have anything else. Does anyone have any questions at all? Yeah, Trump's kind of nuts, man. But hey, I've never seen somebody move markets as much as this guy left and right. Jesus. If you've been doing what I've been saying, man, and just playing volatility, if you're an options trader playing, quick options, riding the volatility and getting out quick when you get into the green, jump in, get a nice positive run on one day, try and get out. Don't get attached to anything. Play it down. Like I said, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs left and right now. It's going to be very, very shaky because he's going to come out one day and say, I'm not going to fucking do this trade with these guys, and these guys, and everyone else, he's ruining it for everybody, blah, blah, blah. And also they'll have a red day. And then, oh my God, I'm getting really fucking close with this country. Like I said, it's going to be the same. But ride the waves, my friends. Ride the waves. If you're an AMC, you're finally at that point where fundamentally you have recovered. If you ask for shares, it will help your stock price because, again, if you don't, they will use it as an excuse of this low reserve and say, hey, they're a couple quarters away. It's such a risk. It's a low risk. We're not going to let them issue more shares. Just because he gets them when he's in a recovery phase does not mean that he needs to issue them, as long as he said, hey, I expect to be cash flow positive the next 9 months. You wait until your recovery of your price, and then he can issue it there at a higher price at a later date. Like I said, he's not going to ask for an insane amount. I highly suggest you do. But like I said, the rest of the year, everything else for AMC, the rest of next year looks incredible. If we can get more movies like they showed you here with Lilo and Stitch, if we can get them one day early access, that's massive. That will be a lot of money by the end of the year if you can get the #1 movie showings each time a day early at your theater, and you have the most theaters showing it. This will be a huge deal. This would end up being a massive revenue maker. Everyone will want to see movies a day early. Trey's back, Life to Drift live. Like Trey's online right now on YouTube? Or what do you mean? Oh, he streams? Well, I guess good for him, man. I don't know.
I'm not personally gonna watch it, but if that's what you want to do, go for it. But I will be streaming again here soon. I want to kind of show people. I want to just kind of talk mainly about AMC and just show people a lot of these things going on with the regulators. But just because we had AMC earnings, but I do have a couple more things I found here on the back end that are just freaking ridiculous. Like I said, it's every week we find some new way that they're manipulating this or doing that. So I will be back. I will be back making videos this month. Like I said, I just had no time last month, and every time I found a second, I would just pass out for a nap. So little man was kicking my butt this week. I didn't really have a babysitter all month. So thank you guys for listening. Talk to you guys soon.